things about trading Forex is that you don't actually know exactly which trade is going to be a crazy winner or just another loss.
What's up, everybody? We are currently live.
We'll take away the weekly.
Trace back down to the orthodox stance. That price is going to be bullish.
Point sort of chasing the market. I was more than happy to stay flat.
Hello everyone. What the kangaroo tell?
Always recommend trading on the 5 minute.
Some of these exotic pairs and pretty steady uptrend, making these higher highs and higher.
Mostly trend following.
The stimulus in a certain way.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody tuning in. Welcome to another market analysis video. And today we're going to get right into it, starting with USDZAR. Now, I don't trade on Fridays during the time when the markets will close, but this will just serve as my analysis for what I'm looking at going into next week. All right, so we can start with USDZAR on the weekly time frame. As many of you guys know by now, I am a swing trader, and I like doing a lot of top-down analysis to give me an overall feel for what the market has been doing and where it might be headed next. All right, so clearly on USDZAR, the weekly time frame paints a beautiful picture of this steady uptrend where we're making higher highs and higher lows. All right, so if we look at the most recent of times, you can see that price dipped into this key level of support. We've respected it very well, and we've continued making a move to the upside. Another thing that I want to point out, let me actually come down to the daily time frame, is the fact that we have been in a descending channel, but we're struggling to continue that pattern, that trend of this shorter time frame of lower lows and lower highs. And not only that, but we've had a break above a previous resistance, a previous high in the market, right? So let me show you guys with this brush what I'm denoting. We were making these lower lows and lower highs in the descending channel. And now it seems as though we're struggling to continue that trend. We actually had a break above that high. We're getting a nice retest of that resistance turn support. And now we're kind of at a launch pad where I'm looking at price action, waiting to see what's going to develop, to see if it's going to give us some signal that we want to continue pushing to the upside. And that's my bias, right? Because I always look at the higher time frames like the weekly to dictate, where I anticipate the market heading next. And given the fact that we were overall in a steady uptrend, we've been respecting a key level of weekly support, and also the fact that we have broken out as this descending channel. These are all confluences that I'm stacking up to serve as supporting reasons for why I am anticipating a buy. All right. All right, so let me clean this up a little bit, and we can just focus on the 4-hour time frame. This current break and retest scenario, right? So we've broken out of that descending channel off of the daily time frame, and now it seems like we're having a shift back in momentum to the upsides. What is most available to us is this break and retest scenario, and this is definitely something I would be looking at going into next week as a potential buy opportunity. All right. All right, so let's come back to the weekly time frame, and let's come over to USD SGD. This is the US dollar, Singapore dollar. All right, so here you can see that the overall trend does look bearish on USD but we're actually struggling to continue that movement to the downside. What also stands out to me is this inverted head and shoulders pattern that we've been forming. All right, so if we take this as the left shoulder and then the head, and then sort of forming that right shoulder here, right? I like looking at textbook patterns off of the weekly time frame just because they took time to form. They're very well established and you can sort of trust them a little bit better. It's not super integral to my strategy, but I just like to take a look at them just to serve as an extra piece of confluence. But lower lows and lower highs, but we are struggling to continue that trend. Not only that, but similar to USDZAR, we've kind of come to a halt at this level of support, right? And we're breaking back above previous highs, right? So this horizontal line here denoted in yellow is serving as that resistance line that we've broke right back above. The 4-hour shows that we've broken it, got a bounce off of it, some nice bullish engulfing candlesticks to serve as a signal that we are respecting and rejecting that level, right? So a couple of bullish engulfing patterns here. So a very similar outlook that I have on USDZAR that I have on USDSGD. The price action looks a little better, a little cleaner on USDZAR. So I'm definitely more inclined to take some potential buy positions on that pair next week, but I'm also very bullish on USDSGD. All right. We can take a look at another exotic pair. Let me come back to the weekly. All right. And so this is USD NOK. NOK is the Norwegian krone. And very similar to some of the other exotic pairs that we previously looked at, very similar to USD ZAR in the sense that we are in an uptrend, right? The weekly uptrend shows a nice steady push to the upside, making higher highs and higher lows. All right, coming down to the daily. If we hone in on this piece of price, at least the most recent of times, you can see that we have been making lower lows and lower highs, but now we're struggling to continue that movement. We're actually now breaking above previous highs, previous resistance levels in the market, which again, I have denoted with this yellow bar, all right? All right, so a nice break and bounce scenario here, right? So once approaching that level of resistance, we came back and got a nice retest and then a continuation or push to the upside. I'm liking the price action on this pair as well. It's fairly clean, like USD ZAR. Going into next week, I want to see if we can get some sort of spike into this bullish engulfing or this order block region, right? All right, so that will serve as my sponsor. Oftentimes, like I've talked about on previous sessions, whenever you see these impulse moves to the upside or the downside, most of the time they're done by institutional traders. They like to come back to those positions to grab the liquidity and continue pushing price in a direction that they please. All right. So just as a quick back test or supporting argument to this theory, if we come over here, you can see we had a bullish engulfing candlestick here. So impulsive move. You can see that price, launched off that starting ground, came back beautifully into that region, and price was continued pushing to the upside. All right. All right, so those are the main exotic pairs that I was looking at going into next week. What we can do now is shift into some of these major currency pairs. All right. So let's come over to GBP CAD and let me pull up the weekly time frame on GBP CAD. All right. All right. So GBP CAD, it shows a steady downtrend on the weekly time frame. But if we hone in on price, you can see this yellow line that I've denoted is a region of institutional support where every time price approaches, it's been respecting for the past couple of times and rejecting that level, sort of starting as the launch pad for GBP CAD to make its next move to the upside. All right. So here you can see we've broken that minor trend off the daily time frame of lower lows and lower highs and continuing to push to the upside. Coming down to the 4-hour, just to reveal a little bit more price action. We've been in a steady uptrend, at least in the most recent of times, and I'm looking to go with the flow of that movement. All right. One thing I would like to see GBP CAD do is come back into this order block region as well. Personally, I wouldn't just take it upon price approaching that region, but I would wait to see what type of price action forms there before I make a decision, right? So it's sort of, you can think of it as kind of letting price tell you what it's going to do before you react and before you execute any given position. All right. Another thing that I noticed on the daily time frame is the fact that we have this order block region as well. So right now I'm kind of just laying out a map of potential areas that price might spike into, right? So we have this order block region here, this level of nice supply that price might like to actually push into. And some of the other confluences that I've stacked up is supporting some bullish movement. So it would be interesting to see if we can get a move into that region going into next week. All right. Coming over to GBP odd, again on the weekly time frame. Lower lows and lower highs, so the trend definitely looks bearish on GBP odd off the higher time frame, but we can't ignore the fact that we have been in a steady uptrend, at least in the most recent of times. If we come down to the daily time frame, actually the 4-hour, I think, is where a little bit of the price action becomes a little bit more clear. But you can see we have this break and bounce scenario. All right, if I just extend this horizontal bar. So a nice break and bounce scenario off of the 4-hour time frame. Again, I would like to see if price could come into this region, this order block region, and I'd see how it would react there before any decisions on my end. All right. All right, so I'm checking the chat very briefly. I see there is some interest in looking at some of the metals. So let's go ahead and take a look at those as well. Let's see, actually I haven't looked at gold in a while. Let me come to the weekly time frame. All right, so looking at gold, clearly it is in a steady uptrend off of the higher time frames. If we come over to the daily, so we had this bullish flag here, and we've retested that zone, right? So a break and bounce scenario as well. Coming to the 4-hour, let's see. Coming up to the 4-hour, it looks like we're approaching a level of Let's see, resistance turns support. So I'd be really interested in seeing how price action is going to develop in this region here going into next week. I do have a bullish bias given what we did see off the higher time frames like the weekly, showing that steady move to the upside. The daily painting a nice picture of that bullish flag where we broke out of that region and gave a nice retest. And so given those trends off the higher time frames, that's dictating my bias. All right. So the bullish bias that I have now looking at the 1 hour time frame. We have this break and bounce scenario coming into play. So I'd be interested in seeing how price is going to react here. Are we going to form some sort of maybe a bullish engulfing that is a signal as to that we may reject that zone and continue pushing forward? Or are we going to start getting some bearish price action, maybe a dip below this level and a slight move to the downside before what I think will be a steady move back to the upside on gold? All right. Let's look at silver. All right, so coming to the weekly time frame. Let me actually get rid of this box for a second. All right, so let me go ahead and draw this horizontal line here. Silver currently is basically come to a halt at this level of resistance, right? Once we've approached this region, that region that I have noted in yellow, we've started struggling to continue pushing to the upside. It almost looks as if we're forming some sort of triple top or even a head and shoulders if we have kind of like a slanted view at this. But silver seems to be respecting this level fairly well. And what I previously drawn on silver was this consolidation box, right? So I'd really like to see, given that I am a swing trader, I look for longer term moves in the market. I would like to see silver break out of this region before I consider any potential opportunity, right? I do anticipate maybe one move to the downside before we spike, before there is a potential break to the upside, but we'll just have to see. I'm just waiting for price to tell me what it wants to do. All right. Let's come over to Euro CHF. Euro CHF. I believe this was a pair that I talked about on last week's session, but I was just highlighting the fact that while the weekly does show a steady downtrend, right, lower lows and lower highs, we're struggling to continue pushing to the downside. And you can see evidence of that in the fact that we've broken out of this this descending channel, if you will, and now we've started to break above previous highs in the market. And not only that, but look at how we've dipped into this order block region, and it seems as though this candle on the weekly is going to close as a nice rejection of that zone, right? A nice wick rejection of that level. So all these confluences, all of these different types of price action that is forming in the market is suggesting that we may start to push to the upside and have a shift in momentum that's against the dominant trend that you see on the weekly time frame. All right, this could be the starting point of a move back to the upside. All right, so here, what was shown as an order block region on the weekly, you can see that the past couple of days we've basically respected that level and had some bullish movement off of that level. Not only that, there is a nice bullish engulfing candlestick as well that serves as one of those signals, candlestick patterns that I look for when I'm looking for some sort of rejection of a level. And we got that here with Euro CHF. All right, so I'm leaning more towards on the bullish side of things from a swing trading standpoint, but I would like to see how further price action develops going into next week. All right, let's take a look at CHF-JPY. CHF-JPY coming to the weekly time frame. You can see steady movement to the upsides, higher highs and higher lows. And even in the most recent of times, if we just take a look at this or just hone in on this piece of price, you can see price has clearly been in a steady uptrend. We're getting this nice break and bounce scenario. And I like what's developing on CHF-JPY. We've actually dipped back into an order block region, right? One of those zones or levels that I wait for price to dip into before I consider any movement. If we come to the 4-hour, you can see that price for the time being is respecting that zone very well. So I do have a bullish bias on CHF-JPY. Going into next week, I may be looking for a potential buy opportunity back to the upside. All right. All right, so those are the pairs that I'm looking at going into next week. If you guys have any pairs that you want to take a look at together, definitely feel free to drop them in the chat and we can go ahead and analyze those ones as well. All right, so I see JK asked if we can take a look at GBP-JPY. Coming to the weekly time frame, getting a nice bird's eye view of the market. GBP-JPY, you can see that although if we just hone in on price, we have been in an uptrend, we've come to a halt. We've kind of stopped at this region of resistance, right? So that horizontal line that I have denoted in yellow. Let's come to the 4-hour. All right, so for me, GBP-JPY, at least from a swing trading standpoint, is in what I would call no man's land. I'm in a position where I just want to stay on the sidelines until I see some major break of a key level of support or resistance. And so basically, I'm waiting for a break of that yellow line that I have denoted above, or if we can break this line here, I would be interested in a potential sell opportunity given that we can get a break in and retest scenario. All right, because right now although we have been in an uptrend, we are respecting a very major level of resistance, which was shown on the weekly. So I want to see a significant break of some level that will give me some nice confirmation as to where price will be headed next. All right, so gold has been covered, and this is a recorded session, so it'll definitely be available for showing later. We can go ahead and take a look at Euro USD. Coming to the weekly time frame. So a little similar to GBP JPY in that although if we look at the most recent of times, we have been in a uptrend, we have come to a halt at a key level of resistance off the weekly time frame, right? Again, very similar to GBP JPY in that, you know, from a swing trading standpoint, I'd like to see a break below this level of support or above that level of resistance up top. All right. Because although it does seem like we're losing momentum to the upside, I can't ignore the fact that we have been in an uptrend in the most recent of times. And then getting a break of this support level would give a nice, solid, well-established confirmation that, okay, further bearish movement might continue. All right, so with that, thank you guys for tuning in. I think we'll go ahead and wrap this session up, and I will see a lot of you guys next week. All right, peace.
Hey guys, thanks for watching today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. And before you go, make sure to check out our guest today and also subscribe to the A1 Trading YouTube channel if you have not already. Risk Calculator is a risk management tool built specifically for MetaTrader 4 and MetaTrader 5 to help you position size properly. Their easy to use software will allow you to enter and exit positions with lot sizes that are calculated for you, suited to your risk management settings that you allow for the tool. This is a big thing because a lot of us struggle with over leveraging or accidentally taking a position size too big, and Risk Calculator is there to help. Like I said, with the click of a few buttons, you're able to set your trade and the lot size will automatically be calculated for you so that it suits your risk management plan. In addition to actually setting your trades with the proper lot size, it also allows you to manage your trades as they're going along. Things like trailing stops, moving stops to break even, or even partial take profits are all tools or features available with the Risk Calculator functions that are available on MetaTrader 4 and MetaTrader 5. If you're interested in checking out Risk Calculator, there's a link down below in the description. And if you use that link, it does help to support what we do here on the channel, which is provide free trading content, again, by the thanks to the help of our sponsors. So thanks so much for watching today. Again, make sure to subscribe to us here on YouTube if you haven't already, and we'll see you back in the next one.